Hey guys, so I hope that you really enjoyed our reading that I assigned to you yesterday about the different types of cubism and the artists involved in it and how we can distinguish the different types of cubism and their different characteristics. So what we're going to do today is we're going to do a double diary entry. So what we're going to do is talk about the facts that we learned in the article and then also our thoughts on it. So kind of get that in your brain as we start to discuss some of the things that we found in the reading. So here on the left hand side, we are going to do all of our facts or our statements, the basis of the article, the information that we received. And then on the other side of the column, on your right hand side of the column, we're going to put our thoughts about that. It might just be like a journaling exercise so that you can kind of distinguish to the two different types of cubism, and then what are your thoughts behind it, or how can you describe it so that you can recall that information at a later date. Okay? All right, so let's think about the facts. What are some things that we learned from the article? Does anybody want to go first? Okay, so what's something that you learned about the article? Right. So both Pablo Picasso and George Braque, they were both Cubist artists that dabbled in both genres of it. Okay, so let's put our fact as Picasso and Braque. All right. Any other facts about it? What else can you tell me about the article? Okay, great. So synthetic cubism kind of came from analytical cubism. So we would do analytical first into synthetic. All right, any other facts that you guys want to give me? Great. So analytical has more picture planes, more perspective, but synthetic doesn't. Correct. All right, so we're going to write analytical, more perspective, synthetic, less. All right, any other facts that we can gain from the article? Anybody else? Great, so synthetic uses found objects, right? So it's a little bit more realistic. Wonderful. So those are some great 4 facts about synthetic and analytical cubism. So then now what you can do as a group or individually, you can kind of come through this side on the thoughts side and you can write down ideas or your thoughts or your feelings behind some of these key facts here from the article. And what I like to do is tell my students to kind of put it in your own words. That way you can describe it to yourself later or to your friends, and that way you can recall it. So when I start talking about analytical or synthetic cubism, you'll be able to pull those ideas based off of these facts that you have here. So now what we're going to do is we're going to look at some visual references for these analytical and synthetic cubism, okay? So you're going to get a piece of paper that's going to have your facts and your thoughts on it so that you can write down the facts. You can add more if there's more that you want to add that we didn't do today in a group, and then also you can do your thoughts on the other side. So I'll give you an example. So the thoughts I'm going to put for my Picasso and Braque, I might withdraw some cubes, okay, with lots of planes, so that I would know that I have a geometric composition here, okay? And then Picasso and Braque, I'm going to put that they are both styles of cubism. Okay, so that I know that they dabbled in both of those styles, okay? And then for analytical and synthetic, I might put that analytical is more busy. And then for synthetic, I would put that it is more realistic. Okay, so you're going to get a piece of paper with a facts and a thoughts here for your double entry here, and then you can kind of categorize that how you see fit based off of these key facts or any other ones that you have. Okay, so now we're going to listen and watch a visual reference of describing the two different types of cubism. Okay, got some visual references to help us distinguish the differences between analytical cubism and synthetic cubism. Analytical cubism is mainly an art method that highlights the artist's ability to really deconstruct the particular shape and bring in many different viewpoints and perspectives together that in a way presents the subject to the viewer in a whole different way. This forces the viewer to consider the new viewpoints and to analyze them all at once in a way that inspires a greater appreciation of these items. As the style of Cubism began to grow and evolve, there were a few artists who maintained a similar method of portraying objects while others had vastly different methods of painting, and they were still considered to be a part of the Cubist way of expressing their own interpretations of the given subject. So here we're going to look at some analytical Cubism. So how would we describe analytical cubism? We're going to look at the object, and in this case here, Seated Nude by Pablo Picasso. So our object is the nude figure, and we're going to look at it in a sense that they have broken it down into many different viewpoints and planes. We're also going to look at an image from George Braque. This is Picture with a Violin. So George Braque, he used an image that we can all relate to, much like Pablo Picasso. So the image here is a violin, and this is a close-up detail of the actual painting. So as a viewer, we can connect with that image. We know what a violin is supposed to look like. But Cubist artists, they wanted to take that to the next level. They didn't want to paint a realistic image of a violin or a human figure. They wanted to break it down into many different planes and viewpoints. They also used a lot of subdued colors, so colors that maybe not fit with the actual subject matter, but they kind of give you a certain mood or feeling based off of the colors that were chosen for the actual painting. So now we're going to look at synthetic cubism. So synthetic cubism resulted from a departure from those techniques mentioned before. And this was an attempt to create something that was even more real. So they wanted to kind of dabble in the realism, but still have some of the cubist ideas and styles behind their work. So artists like Picasso and Braque were also some of the artists who did both analytical and synthetic cubism. But whereas now they're starting to use a more vibrant range of colors, so they're kind of getting out of that monochromatic color scheme and adding color into their work. And they also introduced their works that have more depth. And they also were able to eliminate some of the perspective and planes that were used in their imagery back when they were doing analytical work. But most importantly, a way to describe the differences between analytical and cubism is that analytical cubism and synthetic cubism. Synthetic cubism, they started to use different elements in their work using a mixed media approach. So just remember that mixed media is where you're able to combine different types of medium to create the artwork versus just using only an acrylic or an oil paint on paper. This is where they're adding things like paper and newsprint, cloth, text, even sand, found objects, etc. to attempt to bring a more total sense of their subject's essence into the actual artwork. So in this image here of Pablo Picasso's still life with chair canning, you can see that there is a added form around the surface of the painting that is made out of rope. So they're using some more found objects. You can see there's not as many different perspectives and planes created in the upper right hand side, and then you can see that there's another found object or added mixed media piece there below with like a wicker chair. Same thing with George Braque. So it's getting to be a little bit less busy in a sense. There's not as many picture planes or picture perspectives as we discussed with the analytical work. And then also they're using some more found objects and text within their work to kind of make a whole feel of this work. So you can see that they did add some actual wood paneling and then layered on top of it with paper drawings here with George Braque's fruit, dish, and glass.